News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM WTOB. You're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. Today you've got Garrett Ray and Brice Payne in the studio, and this morning we are talking about universal retirement truths. Good morning, Brice.
Good morning, Garrett. How you doing?
Doing okay. I think we may have just experienced our last warm weekend of the year.
Boy, was that a beautiful weekend last weekend.
It was very nice.
The wife and I took the bikes out riding up into the hills to see the fall colors, and man, cool. Just every other biker was out there as well, so it was just a gorgeous afternoon. And then I got to come back and see the Broncos win and the Panthers win. So I was joking with you earlier that the Panthers were the number one draft pick last year, and was it the Bengals were the
Texans?
The Texans were the number two, and the commentators were like, "Oh, we're watching the number one and number two draft pick of last year face off against each other." And I was like, "That is not something that you want to have to say as a commentator. That tells you that you are not at the top of the picking order when it comes to the hierarchy of commentators and play callers out there." So
that's right.
But yeah, it was good weekend for football. Air Force Academy still undefeated.
I know that they are impressive
for a team that's not allowed to recruit. That's not bad at all. I'll certainly take that. Seeing that it doesn't look like my Buffaloes or CU Buffaloes or anything to brag about again this year after a strong start. But I wanted to, before we get started here, Garrett, on universal retirement truths, which I love this topic that we're going to cover here in both segments. It is my absolute favorite holiday for good reason. It's my birthday, Halloween. So I had a birthday here, 55 I turned, and always great. Growing up as a kid, even as an adult, it is always great to have your birthday associated with Halloween because none of your friends ever forget your birthday, and it doesn't impede, like with your dad, with other holiday gifts. Gift giving like Christmas on your dad's sake. But I wanted to throw out some, you know how we always think back to how a holiday, Christmas or something, was in our youth. And that's the way it always should be. Like, that's the way it should be. It was meant to be. And you kind of get stuck on idolize that one time period in history where a holiday was, when you were growing up, is how it was meant to be, and it's no longer like that. And like right now, you see trunk or treating instead of trick. You don't go to people's houses anymore. You do the trunk or treating because it's safer. And so I thought I'd throw out a couple of fun facts here about Halloween before we get started on this, on how this particular holiday used to have been. Celebrated, what it was meant, what Halloween was meant to be. So in Celtic tradition, people left sweets on their doorsteps to pacify evil spirits. Well, kids took up dressing as those evil spirits to justify them going around to the doorsteps and stealing the treats. Like, well, you can't get mad at me. I'm an evil spirit. So that was in Celtic tradition. In some circles in the past, if you wore your clothes inside out and walked backwards on Halloween, you would see a witch. Don't see too many people doing that anymore. No, right?
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know about that. Let's see here. Women used to throw apple peels behind them on Halloween to see the initials of their future husband. So I guess the apple peels would fall in a certain pattern. It's like, oh, that looks like an L and that looks like a F or whatnot. So I guess I'm marrying Larry Fitzbottom or whatever. Halloween in times past was also known as Cabbage Night because stinky, rotten cabbages would be left as pranks on doorsteps. Don't see too much of that happening anymore. In other cultures, All Souls Day or Souling Day was when the poor would go knocking on doors, offering prayers for the family's deceased in exchange for food. I haven't had a person in recent memory come to my door offering prayers for food. And in Scotland on Halloween, women would hang wet sheets by the fire to see the images of their future husbands. Seems like there was another one too about women.
Future husbands.
They would go into the basements and look in a mirror in the basement on Halloween, and they would see their boyfriend's image in the mirror. So it seems like a lot about Halloween was women trying to see who their future boyfriend or their future husband was going to be. It's anyway. So some fun little facts there about how Halloween used to be celebrated, a little different than our trunk or treating today. Anyway, and by the way, our trivia question at break time is going to be on Halloween as well.
Okay.
Why wouldn't it be? Right?
Exactly. Why not?
All right. So thank you for bearing with me through that. Let's go ahead and get started here. Are there universal retirement truths? Garrett, what say you? Are there universal retirement truths?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly consistencies amongst one's retirement that can translate over multiple different households and common themes. I get a little bit hesitant to say that there's an absolute universal truth, but there are some things that we can look for and be pretty sure that it's going to apply to almost every household. Almost
every household. So let's tackle this first one here. Everybody needs an income plan. How do you feel about that one? That's a statement you can say out there. Do you buy into that everybody needs an income plan?
Sure, because if you don't have an income plan, then you're essentially just kind of wandering through your retirement, and I would argue you don't really have any plan at all.
Could be argued that way. So now there's the occasional person who is like, we've had an Air Force officer who came to us, and he had an $11,000 a month pension.
Right, you're probably good.
Probably doesn't need much of an income plan on top of that. You're right. So the questions that you would want to ask yourself about your income: is the income guaranteed? All right, that's one question. Will it fluctuate, or is it fixed? Mm-hmm. How's the income taxed? Certain different types of income are taxed differently.
Exactly.
Is it fixed, or is it going to grow? Like, does it have a cost of living adjustment attached to it? Will it continue for your spouse after you're gone?
That's something that certainly the spouse would like to know.
Yeah, exactly. So if you care about your spouse, maybe you want to ask that question. So everybody needs an income plan. I would say probably like having a roadmap for where you're going. If you're going out to the beach or whatnot, you kind of want to have an idea of where you're going through the course of that trip, and the same thing through retirement. You want to kind of have an idea of where your income is going to come from, and what kind of income is that?
I would agree.
All right. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Garrett and Brice this week, and we are talking about their universal retirement truths. And we just talked about income. Next, Garrett, let's talk about everybody needs a plan to address long-term care issues.
All right.
How do we feel about that one? Is that universal?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we want to at least plan for increased expenses for healthcare costs as we age. If we don't, then we typically will get surprised with expenses that either we just had wishful thinking that weren't going to happen to us, or what have you. There's multiple different kind of ways to kind of crack that nut. That possibly long-term care insurance is a solution that makes sense for some people. But at least having monies set aside for healthcare expenses in general as we age, even if our body is in good shape now and our mind is sharp now, we know that as we go through time, bodies tend to fail, mind tends to get duller, and if you're not making a plan for it, then essentially what that turns into is, kids or loved ones are having to step up, and then, we have that kind of dreaded conversation with, now I'm becoming a burden on my loved ones, and no one really wants to have that happen to them if they can plan for it. So we always try. It's a sensitive topic. It really is. But if we can have that careful conversation early enough and have a plan for it, absolutely. I'd say that's a universal retirement.
Yeah, I would say so too, because let's ask it this way. Do you ask somebody as an advisor, do you have a plan for how you're going to pay for long-term care costs? And if they say, no, I don't have a plan for it. Well, does that make sense? You should have a plan for it, right? I mean, because it's not cheap.
Yeah, let's at least have the conversation.
Let's at least have the conversation and understand where those monies are going to be coming from. That's right. And think of it this way. Long-term care costs, or how it's going to be paid for, impacts your spouse
Oh, yeah.
more than it impacts you.
Sure.
Because you'll be, assuming you've got enough money to put aside, if you've got to dump all of your resources into your long-term care costs,
right?
Okay, you'll still be okay sitting in that facility having professionals take care of you.
Right.
What does that do to your spouse who is still at the house and all the resources are being, I don't want to say drained, but being used on you? What does that mean for his or her lifestyle who is still at the house?
Right.
So
now he or she didn't get that retirement lifestyle that they had envisioned.
So it impacts your spouse almost more than it impacts you, because
Certainly.
you're prioritizing yourself and your needs for all the expenses. All right. Well, we're going to jump into a break here. We're going to continue talking after the break on the universal retirement truths. I love this topic, and we might even have more for this for next week as well. But it is, of course, trivia time, as it always is, Garrett. And here is our trivia question for this Halloween week.
Oh, boy.
Are you ready?
I think so, but this could go anywhere. So
this could go anywhere. What candy has 35 million pounds produced every year in October? And that equals 9 billion pieces. What candy has 35 million pounds produced every year, or equal to 9 billion pieces?
Ooh, that's a good one, Brice. Okay, I'll have to think about that.
All right, we'll stick around for the answer to that trivia question and see if we stumped Garrett on the other side of this short break. This is Brice Payne. With me is Garrett Ray. The show is The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM, WTOB. News Talk 94.5 WPTI. 96.7 FM, WTOB. You're listening to The Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne, along with Garrett Ray, and in this second segment, we're going to continue our conversation about, are there universal retirement truths? We found out in the first segment that there indeed are, and we're going to see what some of those other universal truths may or may not be. Now, we asked Garrett a Halloween-oriented trivia question in the first segment here. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but before we get to that answer, I've got two questions for you. Are you looking forward to retirement? I know this sounds like deja vu because I've asked you that question every week here, year in and year out for a long time, and I know your answer keeps coming back as yes. My second question is, do you want to make sure you're making the best financial decisions for your retirement? Well, I'm sure the answer comes back as yes for that as well. Well, then my question to you, a third question would be, well, if you've answered yes week in and week out to those two questions and you're getting close to retirement, why haven't we heard from you yet? What is it you are delaying? Why is it you have not picked up the phone, called us at 336-391-3409 and said, hey, Garrett, Brice, Doug, I'm getting ready for retirement. I've always answered yes to that first question, am I looking forward to retirement? I've always answered yes to that second question, do I want to make the best decisions financially for my retirement? Yet I've only now decided to pick up the phone and call you guys. So if you haven't gotten to that stage yet, I want to encourage you to do that. 336-391-3409 to set up an appointment with us and see how we can help you retire the job and keep the paycheck in your retirement. We offer a no-cost, no-obligation second opinion review of your retirement plan. This includes a deep analysis of your assets, your investment portfolio, your insurance policies, your income needs, your risk tolerance, your risk exposure, your tax mitigation strategies, your Social Security filing strategies, everything. Our goal is simple. We want to help you lower your fees just like you do. We want to help you align your risk just like you do. And we want to help you improve your overall retirement picture just like you do so that you can retire the job and keep the paycheck. But the jack-o'-lantern is in your court. You have to give us a call. And I'm going to give you that number one more time here because I know it's easy to forget it. 336-391-3409. Say it out loud with me. 336-391-3409 is our phone number. You can also visit us at our website, thewealthguardians.com, to reach out to Lynn and finally sit down with us like you know you've been intending to make sure that you are indeed making the best financial decisions for your retirement. What do I always tell you? The markets aren't going to wait for you. All right.
Will not.
And the bell or the buzzer is not going to wait for Garrett here either because it is time to see that trivia question. Garrett, here it is. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's see if the jack-o'-lantern's in my court.
What candy has 35 million pounds produced every year in October, which equates to 9 billion pieces?
Okay. I am pretty sure it is a candy that I can't stand.
Oh, really?
I think it is candy corn. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
My favorite candy.
Oh my gosh. It is. Woo. I cannot eat that stuff.
It's just pure sugar. There's
sugar and like a weird buttery, it's artificial butter taste. Like, yeah.
Do you know what that used to be called?
A candy corn?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that used to be called.
Chicken feed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It looks like little kernels of corn. Yeah. So chicken feed. So that's all right. Well, you and I are definitely on the
opposite ends of the spectrum.
If we were best friends as kids, we would have a great time switching out food.
True.
I'd give you all the Twizzlers, and you could give me all the candy corn.
Yeah,
yep, exactly.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, fun times indeed. Congratulations on getting yet another one for the. We should add up all the trivia questions you got right over the years, because I'm sure it's pretty.
It's doing
pretty
okay.
Good.
It's doing okay.
All right, so let's go back to our topic here. Are there universal retirement truths? And we got through to the first two. In the first segment, everybody needs an income plan, and everybody needs to plan to address long-term care issues. Let's move on to the third one now, Garrett. Nobody can consistently time the stock market successfully. What do you say to that?
Yeah, boy. I mean, if there was a universal retirement truth, this is certainly the one that I would definitely agree with. I think this is just kind of a logical understanding of most people. And if some person or some entity out there could perfectly time the stock market, then someone out there would be almost, infinitely rich, essentially, given Elon certainly a run for his money. The reality is that we can't perfectly time the stock market, certainly not consistently. So, essentially what you have to understand is, how long are we going to be invested into this market? At what risk level do we want to be invested into that market? Should something go sideways in the market, are we protected from downside, at least catastrophic downside? These are all questions that you should be asking your financial planner, and it's questions that we help answer for folks that come through our office each and every week.
Yeah. Nobody can consistently time the stock market successfully. Maybe there are a few people out there who do it a majority of the time.
Sure.
But I've always tended to stray away from trying to equate the markets with gambling or with Vegas.
Yeah.
But in this case, I will, because let me ask you this. Think of betting on a sports game. If a majority of us got a majority of those games picked right. Vegas would be out of business.
Sure. In like a week or two.
In a week or two.
Yeah.
So a majority of us, a majority of the time, will pick the wrong team.
Yes.
Well, now let's just extrapolate that to picking stocks in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
We're not always going to time that perfectly. And when you're going through retirement, if your income is based off of how well your stocks are performing, and that's going to impact what your retirement looks like.
Right.
So don't plan on you being able to do that. There are different ways that you can plan for your retirement rather than consistently picking the right stocks.
Sure.
All right.
Totally agree.
As easy as that. Now, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show, and we're talking about universal retirement truths. And Garrett, I'm going to take just a pause here and remind everybody that there is another universal truth when it comes to retirement.
Oh.
That is Social Security.
That is true.
Almost everybody out there will have an option when they retire or when they approach retirement on how they're going to file for Social Security.
Yep.
You can get that right, or you can get that not right.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of ways for you to file for Social Security. A lot of people, Garrett, think that, and you've seen this, I've seen it, you've seen it. Now, you've been with us for close to 2 years.
Yep.
You have seen people think that, well, I don't understand what this hubbub is about filing for Social Security. I plan on retiring at 67 in July when I'm age 67, and I'm going to file for Social Security in July when I'm 67.
Yeah. People just think that, when they leave the job, they are immediately filing for Social Security, and that's just how it is.
That is how it is, and you have to separate the idea of when you retire and when you file for Social Security.
Two completely different things.
They are, and people don't think of that, and they think, well, it's just replacing. Social Security is meant to replace my paycheck, and if I retire at this age, then I'm filing for Social Security at that age.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Sure.
But that, a majority of the time, is not the way that is going to get you the most dollars that you can from Social Security, is not going to be the most advantageous filing strategy for you for your 20, 30-year retirement plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are certified with the National Social Security Association here at the Wealth Guardians to help people make the decisions and to understand the ins and outs of how Social Security can impact your other forms of income in retirement and your tax brackets in retirement.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if you were able to answer a question of how to file Social Security the most optimally in order to maximize my financial benefit over my lifetime, I know I would want that answer.
Right.
Exactly.
Good point. Yeah. It's like, well, I'm going to wing it. Are you really?
Yeah.
That's your plan for.
I'm just going to pick an age.
I'm just going to pick an age. Yeah. Yep. No. Let's make sure that you are filing in the way that, or at least let's give you all the information that you need to make that decision for yourself in an educated way. Now, we have got a seminar coming up, Garrett.
We do.
It's our last Social Security seminar of the year.
It is.
It is November, Thursday. Well, we just had that one, November, Thursday, 2nd, and that turned out great. But we've got one more. Yep. Thursday, November 9th. That's this upcoming Thursday.
That's right.
At 6:30 p.m. at our office in Clemens.
And we got a special guest.
We got a special guest. Who is it?
Hamilton Morales.
Hamilton Morales, the living, breathing Wikipedia, encyclopedia of all things Social Security. He is not just accredited with the National Social Security Association, but he is a teacher to accrediting other people. Yeah. Like he credited myself.
Didn't he teach you, Brice?
He taught me and your dad at the same time on Social Security. But we can sometimes get stumped once in a while, your dad and I.
Sure.
But Hamilton, you can't stump him. No. So he only comes up here once a year. This is the time that is coming up here. So if you are approaching retirement and you want to sit down and make sure that you understand everything that you need to about Social Security so that when it comes time to file, you have confidence that you're doing it the right way, I beseech you to pick up the phone and call us.
Yep.
336-391-3409. There is no cost or obligation to attend the seminar, but you do have to register with us. 336-391-3409. You can also register by going to our website, thewealthguardians.com, and clicking on the events tab.
Absolutely.
And we'll give you all the information that you need to. You can ask Hamilton questions and make sure that you understand what you need to about Social Security. Garrett, we've got one more minute here. Let's get to our last one.
Sure.
Nobody knows how long they're going to live. Is that a universal truth in retirement?
I would say that's absolutely a universal truth. And it's interesting, Brice, that I think you get this lots of times when we talk to folks. People will kind of chuckle sometimes when they sit down and talk to us and say, let's talk about what your plan is in your 90s. And some people say, well, my 90s? And they'll start to laugh and say, I'm never making it that far.
Yeah, all the time.
Well, I tell you what, modern medicine is an amazing thing, and people are certainly living well into their 90s, and more people into their 100s. So wouldn't you want a financial plan that plans for the possibility of a nice long longevity for you? We certainly don't want to find ourselves later in our life running out of money because we didn't plan for it.
The question that we ask all the time, and I'll ask it one more time here, if you plan, as many people who sit down with us do, if you plan on your money lasting you till age, say, 95,
sure.
All right, what happens if you live till 96? Let that question think in for a second. You think, well, I just need my money to last me till 95. Okay, so at 95, you run out of money. What does your age 96 look like? Who is that impacting?
Oh, more than just you.
And what does that impact look like? It's probably your kids, is what you just said.
Yeah.
And does that impact them in a positive way?
No.
Probably not.
Nope, they're helping out Grandpa.
Exactly, right. And this probably was not part of their work plan.
Sure.
So, I can tell you the story about my brother and his wife, and when her father lived longer and her mother hadn't. So that definitely impacted their retirement plans. But there are a lot more universal retirement truths, Garrett. I see about 4 more on the list here that we're going to have to cover here.
Yeah, we're going to have to get back into this list next week.
This is a really good list.
Yeah.
But we are out of time this week here, so I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Garrett once again got the trivia question. You learned some fun facts about Halloween and how it used to be celebrated, and you hopefully learned some good universal truths about retirement.
Well, we did.
But as we do every week here, we've run out of time. We want to tell everybody out there, thank you for joining us. We hope the rest of your weekend is everything you want it to be. This is Brice Payne, along with Garrett Ray, the show's The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And one last little tidbit I'll give you. Sound financial plans do not create themselves. This is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. This is 96.7 FM WTOB.